Welcome back. Earlier this month, the Economic Advisory Council submitted its preliminary report to President Muhammadu Buhari, lamenting that the economic growth rate is slow in contrast to the population rate that is growing at a faster pace. The 8-member panel, chaired by Professor Doyin Salami, highlighted a number of challenges hindering economic growth, including a higher population growth. Now, the recent downgrade of Nigeria's growth forecast by the International Monetary Fund perhaps buttresses the EAC report. But joining me now to x-ray this issue and how best to tackle the challenges is an international consultant and the CEO of Aspera Global Corporation, Dr. Glenn Prince Abbey. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Good morning. You're welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. So both the IMF and the World Bank have always said that policy uncertainty and inconsistency could weaken Nigeria's economic outlook, except the government takes appropriate fiscal and monetary policy reforms. And just yesterday, we saw the IMF downgrade Nigeria's growth outlook to 2% from 2.5%. Is it time to declare a state of emergency on the economy?
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for that question. And I appreciate the factors all around, and I'm happy that we're addressing this at this material time. As a matter of fact, I would say that the easiest way to tackle this conversation is for me to come up with a battery of statistics and all that. That is always the easy way for economists to do. But what I will do is take the tougher route to come up with specific, actionable recommendations as to what we can do to grow the economy. As a matter of fact, across the world, there is a synchronized slowdown on economies of the world. Currently, even the Japanese economy is at a point, it's at a transition point for a recession. That's the third largest economy in the world. And then the fourth largest, which is Germany. The German economy, the largest economy in Europe, and the world's third largest exporter, is also facing challenges. So across the world, there is some form of synchronized economic slowdown, of which Nigeria is one. But Nigeria's problem is actually different in the sense that there are a whole lot of fundamentals that we need to correct in our approach to growing our economy and improving things. And as I said, I will take the tougher route. That's to come up with specific, actionable measures that can be taken almost immediately by the federal government of Nigeria. Way back 2016, I suppose, in a similar session that I had proposed what I called an economic war room to be set up by the president. At that time, he was hardly a year in office, and I came up with that recommendation, an economic war room. Now, your question, is what is reminding me of that, because you said, should there be some kind of a state of emergency declared on the economy? So now, 4 years after, because this is 2020, my recommendation for an economic war room has now become, is facing us more in the face. So we have, I suppose, gone beyond the point of making various analyses. This is the state of the economy. This is what's happening. The economy is not growing. What's going on and all that. We have, I suppose, passed that point to the level where we should sit down and look at things and look at what we need to do. One of the things I think I want to propose to the federal government and to all economic players and policy managers is the need to depoliticize our economic management. For instance, the entire Nigerian political economy needs to be revisited. First of all, let us look at what happens at we have a population that's growing, exponentially, and the economy is not growing in tandem with that exponential growth. But our population is meant to be an advantage to us rather than a disadvantage. So now let us look at the entire political structure. And look at it through the eye of the economy, and we will discover that there's a lot of political activity going on that have no economic underpinning. Let us first of all look at the local government level. at the local government level, for instance, we have local government councillors and chairmen and all that. Some of them elected democratically, and some, and a lot of them, appointed as caretaker committees by state governments. Can state governments in Nigeria, tell me what particular economic growth imperatives or KPIs they set for the local government chairman? Because we're coming to grassroots. We're talking about inclusive growth. Inclusive growth, okay. So because often when we talk about the growth of the economy and all that, we just talk about federal government is not doing this and all that, but we have to start from the very grassroots. We have come to a point when local government chairmen, local government councillors have to start to make a strong case in terms of what they are doing vis-a-vis the growth of the economy. The state governors have to show what they are doing regarding the economy. And then, of course, we come to the federal level, precisely what actions are taking place on a day-to-day basis, based on a day-to-day feedback mechanism that monitors what is happening concerning the economy. I am saying this because, for instance, if we look at the Western world, the economic framework of the Western world where we have our system from has, to an extent, not given us enough to copy from. And I look at Asia. Now, in Asia, for instance, let us look at the Chinese system, the Chinese political economy. First of all, we have the central government, we have the provincial government, and then we also have the municipal government. Let us take that as slightly akin to what we have in Nigeria, because I always say that Nigeria is to Africa what China is to the world. In China, for instance, at the municipal level, the municipal administrators are looking at how they can perform in a way that can impress the central government, that is at the provincial level, in terms of what they are doing to accelerate economic growth. They come up with strong agendas for economic activities, economic players, private sector players within the municipality. And then they move on to the provincial level. At the provincial level, again, they are thinking of economic development. They are thinking of economic activities. They are thinking of production activities. And then these provincial level players now report to the central level. So it's covered that what is actually their obsession, their preoccupation is about economic activities, production activities. So it's therefore not surprising that China, as I always say, is the world's factory, produces the world's goods, the world's original equipment manufacturer, and all of these things. Now, I think, and I strongly propose that it actually makes sense for the Nigerian system to borrow a leaf from there. We start to set agenda strongly from the federal level, federal government level, at the state level again, and then down to the grassroots. Let us start to appoint people or elect people who can come and make a strong case in terms of what their deliverables are vis-a-vis the economy, what they want to do, what they want to achieve. If you have a local government chairman that is over a population of about maybe 2 million or something like that in a given local government, let us see what his specific economic growth agenda is. What are the economic activities that are possible within that local government, and what his activities are. So on a quarterly basis, for instance, the local government chairman in a given state can come together and compare notes, and there will be peer review. And then again, at the state level, for instance, the state governors can also do peer reviews. So at the federal government level, these peer reviews can occur, and then we can start to see what can be further done by way of impetus, by way of incentives to help with economic growth. Now, I'm saying this because sometime last year, the program was set to improve our ease of doing business in Nigeria. And then under the vice president and all that, the agenda was set, or the Federal Minister of Budget and Planning, then and all that, the agenda was set. And the plan was that based on the World Bank rating, that Nigeria should rise, in her level vis-a-vis ease of doing business. Now, where are we? We are still at 146 as a country in ease of doing business. How do we cascade the agenda for ease of doing business from the federal level to the state government level, down to the local government level, and then see how business is facilitated. We are in a country where a number of production facilities have closed up. Where are the Michelins that were producing tires? They've closed up. Where are the Dunlops that were producing tires? They've closed up and all that. There are factors that are leading to this. There are factors that are particularly the reason for these. We need to address these and go beyond the statistics and all the data we throw around and continue to analyze without action. So I am proposing for very serious actions that should be taken to monitor economic activities at the 3 tiers of government and make the agenda really tight. One of the things that the Presidential Economic Advisory Council mentioned was that there is lack of did they say integration? That's of synergy among the MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies. Now, that's fundamental. In other words, we have to develop a strong method of monitoring economic growth drivers and ensure that every ministry, department, agency that has a role to play comes up with its own strategic plan.
Okay, so talking about everyone who has a role to play now, Dr. Prince Abi.
Now, when these are reviewed together with the president,
Dr. Abi, I know that you're very passionate about this, but I was just asking that, talking about everyone having their role to play in this, and we're staying with the Economic Advisory Council now. When this council was announced, of course, there was plenty of excitement in the air and all that, especially because of the pedigree of the membership. But do you think that the council has actually lived up to its expectation?
I fear that they've not done much. They've done a lot of analysis, but I expect a little more meat to what they have done, because if the president has given them, put his full trust in them to come up with what we need to do, I expected more pragmatic prognostications, recommendations that we can work with. For instance, I'm always concerned about our industrial development. Okay, we must be a production economy. They have already analyzed to us, the council, that the economy is not growing, the population is growing so fast. For instance, I wanted them to say things like what production activities can be facilitated to contribute to the growth of the economy. They need to sit back again and come up with specific recommendations. For instance, I'm thinking that we need to visit certain areas of economic, particularly industrial potentialities of this country. In 2015, before the president, while he was operating from defense headquarters, before taking over mantle of the presidency, I developed a blueprint, and I called it the Blurry Plan, where I looked at various aspects of industrial potentialities. Now, I look at, for instance, we have our leather production. We have the leather production nodes in the northeast and the northwest. What have we turned it to be? And then again, in the southeast, we have the technology, we have the capabilities, we have the Abba producers, shoes and all that. Now, how have we taken advantage of this massive opportunity for upscaling the value we have in our leather production? Now, because nothing has been done regarding that, we still end up, we eat what we call pomo and all that, and then we can't make a major economic advantage out of it. I say that because comparatively, you look at Ethiopia. Ethiopia is Africa's second largest population. That's after Nigeria. But Ethiopia's population is less than half of Nigeria's population. And their cattle, the cattle that they have in Ethiopia, actually is far less than what we have. But they have tried to improve the quality of production of their leather, so much that Italian and Spanish leather producers, brand makers, go down there and then look for ways of partnership and start to develop leather products. Now, these are the kind of things we should be looking at. If we look at this from this perspective, you discover that we can improve our leather production. Leather producers, the hides and skin producers will collaborate with skilled manufacturers within the southeast, particularly in the Abia State, Aba area and all that. They start to look at, okay, we have this kind of leather, you can do this to it and all that. So by the time that is further improved, we can achieve world-class level leather production.
All right, so while we look at some of those your recommendations
that can be visited, I'm talking about practical things that can be done.
It's good that you're talking about practical things that can be done.
I just mentioned only one sector, just one sector for now. Right? Maybe you want to ask me something again.
Yes, indeed. I was going to ask that when the Economic Advisory Council was set up, the economic management team that was chaired by the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, was actually dissolved. In your view, do you think that this was necessary, especially given that the EAC has no executive powers?
Well, this question be political, and you do know, of course, that in Nigeria, a lot of things are decided more by politics, okay? So you are asking me a question that is 70% political and 30% economic. So now let me mix it and say that I think for the purpose of continuity, there would have been some kind of, or some level of interface between the then existing economic management committee or team or whatever it was with the Presidential Advisory Council, so that they will be able to pick the baton from there and look at ways of improving, some of the things that particular body had done, rather than completely dissolving it and as though nothing happened at all. And then, because you asked this question, I come to a point that I think is very important for us to all look at again. Now, we are very concerned about Nigeria, the growth of Nigeria's economy. We are very concerned about what is going on and all that, and the global slowdown and all that. So at a time when the economy is so critical in our mind, and then we've just come out of a recession, I was a bit troubled when in the new government, I mean this second administration of Buhari, the Ministry for Budget and Planning was dissolved to be part now of Ministry of Finance. Now, I am always concerned when you have a given agenda, you want to microscopically look at a sector when that sector is particularly important to you. So I think that even that act of burying the Ministry of Budget and Planning, under the Ministry of Finance is troublesome. Why I say that is that it is similar to what you just mentioned, for the purpose of continuity, because I read through in detail, and we discussed at length, the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan of the federal government that was articulated by the Ministry of Budget and Planning, and I read through and saw the various agendas that were set, making Nigeria, one of the elements was making our economy to be globally competitive, things of that nature, and some form of monitoring, performance monitoring mechanism that were all being planned. So okay. I didn't expect that at a time when we need to grow our economy, we need to revisit our economy, revitalize our economy. I didn't expect that that ministry will now be buried under the Ministry of Finance.
All right, Doctor, just before I let you go quickly, because we'll need to wrap up this conversation in just a minute, but just before I let you go quickly, in less than a minute, can you tell us what the government can do to bring millions of Nigerians out of poverty? I need you to do that in less than a minute. Well, in less than a minute, yeah. When the president addressed the current executive, after appointing the ministers and all that, he said this, that the measure of the success of the administration and the measure of the success of their various ministries will be a function of how many Nigerians are pulled out of poverty. So the one thing that the president should do immediately is to look at all the economic growth drivers, ministries, departments, and agencies to come up with a strategic plan, to come up with the agenda in terms of poverty alleviation, getting a lot of Nigerians out of poverty. Every ministry, every department, every agency should come up with that. And the president and his team should look at it, verify it, and then give them strong targets for them to deliver on. With that, in a few words, because you gave me less than a minute to say that, yes, with that, I think we can have some form of growth that is accelerated, irrespective of the challenges we have globally that's affecting growth. Okay, that would be a good point to leave it. Agencies will now realize that they have a strong agenda for taking Nigerians out of poverty. Dr. Glenn Prince Abbey, the CEO of Espera Global Corporation, many thanks for sharing your thoughts with us on Business Morning. After the break, we'll do an opening call to the markets. Do stay with us.